Hello, insiders. I'm Ariel, and I lead the creator product team. Recently, we announced changes to how captioning will work on YouTube, and there's been a bunch of feedback, so we wanted to address it. I have James here as well, who's the product manager for this feature, so we thought we can dive into some of the details. Hey, James.
Hey, thanks, Hero.
So, James,
Yeah,
what is the change that we announced, just to make sure everybody's on we level set with everyone?
yeah. So earlier this week, we announced that we plan to deprecate the Community Captions feature. Some of you remember that we asked for feedback on this a couple of months back. This, to be clear, does not change how captions work for viewers on YouTube. They continue to be there. Creators are still able to either upload captions themselves or write captions themselves. It only affects the community collaboration piece that allows anyone on the internet to contribute captions for a given channel.
So basically, today we have three ways of adding captions, and captions can also include translated captions, same language
Sure.
or not. So same language, of course, if you can't hear the content, then that's very helpful. And then we have the ability to add captions in other languages so you can grow your audience. And there are three ways of generating those. The first is automatically, and you can see in a
Mhm.
lot of videos, automatic translation. Automatic captioning. And then the second one is the ability for creator to go in and literally type, the captions of the words that he or she were saying.
Mhm.
And then the third option was the community caption, which many times is used by passionate viewers who want to help other viewers, either who can't hear or who understand different languages, have access to
Mhm.
the same content. And they can basically go in and either translate or caption a video on behalf of the creator. And there's a whole system to approve those captions, and there's a lot of interesting feature work that's been done to try to make sure that there's, for example, no spam or no abuse of those. And so, just to be super clear, we're only talking about that last feature, right? The first two features for captions, the automatic captions and the captions created by the creator, will remain unchanged and maybe even enhanced, and we'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah, it's just the Community Captions piece.
Okay, and so part of the logic, so let's talk about why we needed to make that decision, which was obviously our creators know that we've been spending a lot of time moving to new systems and new infrastructure, and we recently moved everybody off to the new product, but we still have a few features that are lagging on the old system, and we're working to move them over as well. And one of those features is community captions. So it basically forced us to really think, should we spend a significant amount of engineering effort moving the product over and
Mhm.
maybe even enhancing it, but just to get it to the same level would take a significant amount of work. So then I think it was a few weeks ago, we created a video on Creator Insider to ask the community for feedback about this change that we were contemplating. And we got a lot of concern from creators who did like the feature and wanted to still have a community functionality available. And so we
Mhm.
did offer a change based on that. Do you want to describe kind of what we're doing with the third party?
Yeah, so I do want to say, hey, we got negative feedback from two groups. So first, we got creators who are getting a lot out of the feature as it exists today and have a community, and they said, I don't want you to take this away. We also had a lot of accessibility advocates or deaf or hard of hearing people reach out and say, listen, I rely on caption content to be able to enjoy the platform. Don't make a change that hurts the overall accessibility of the platform. And so because of that, we started to look at, third-party solutions that would allow us to bridge the gap while we, from where we are today to some other solutions that we have planned in product in the future.
Right, and so we're basically covering the cost for creators who have used community captions with a third party for 6 months. And
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of based on the feedback we got from creators. And so let's talk a little bit about those efforts that we have going on. And I should preface by saying that we are on this channel always happy to share things while in the oven, but there's always a chance that things take longer or maybe morph over time. So just kind of with that caution, we should describe a little bit of what we're thinking as kind of the future of captions. And I should also say that we're very passionate about making sure that there's a lot of content on YouTube that has captions. And so our intent, of course, is to grow the watch time that has captions, not reduce it. And so maybe you can describe some of your early thinking about on that front.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been working a lot on is actually a new captions editor. I've been on the channel to show a sneak peek of this in the past, and we actually have a lot of insiders testing, dog fooding this feature today.
And just to be clear, that the captions editor is the tool that creators use to either upload captions from others external to the system or do it themselves. And your point is, by making it much easier to do that, we'll get many more captions.
Yeah, so when we talk with creators about captioning their videos, not all the time, one of the biggest things that comes up is how time consuming it is. And so we're always looking for ways to make it easier for creators to caption their video. And there are a lot of creators who don't have channels that are big enough to benefit from the community captions feature. And so if they're going to caption the content, if they're not going to, be willing to pay for it from, some third party, they're going to caption it themselves. And so the captions editor is a way for them to listen to, watch their video content on YouTube and then caption it themselves or translate it into another language. And our captions editor that we're using today is still from Classic. It's much loved, but also a little old. And so we've been trying to reimagine it with a real focus on efficiency for the creator. The idea being that the easier that it is to caption your videos, the more you'll caption. And so we've really focused on integrating with automatic captions. The reason is that people say, hey, a lot of times your automatic captions are really, really close, but then occasionally they're really wrong. And so it's way, way easier to start from a track and that is mostly right and fix the
and also
capitalization.
Right? The timestamps are all right and all that kind of stuff. So like basically, if you have a few words you want to tweak, why go through a whole hour of captioning yourself from scratch? Why not you start from what our automatic captions are doing? And so we're hoping that that'll accelerate the amount of captions on YouTube in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the first thing it does. The second thing it does is actually, even if you're just typing it out yourself, we've added a much improved assigned timings feature. This feature existed in the old editor. You could kind of write without timings and then hit, time my video, and you'd have to go away for a couple of hours and then come back. The new version, in the majority of circumstances, is actually timing your video as you're typing. It's not always 100% perfect, but it's the difference between tweaking a little bit here and a little bit there. Maybe if you're in a 15-minute video, a couple of segments are a little bit off, versus having to go one by one or wait a couple of hours and remember to come back and publish it. And so we're really excited about that. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that.
And now the captions editor is on the new infrastructure?
That's right. Yeah.
And so we've already ported over the base case, which if for community captions, we would have had to spend all this work just to port over the base case and then potentially add features. So here we can already jump into adding features, right?
That's right.
Okay. And sorry, and you were going to say a third thing as well?
Well, the other thing is auto translate, which, this feature existed in the Classic editor, but it must have been really hard to find, because as we've been showing the new one to people, what they say is, hey, I'd love that you added the auto translate feature, which always makes you blush a little bit as a product manager, because you're like, okay, well, on one hand, I'm glad that you found it and enjoying it, but on the other hand, you're a little sad that it wasn't being found.
Oh, okay. So I didn't understand this nuance, actually. So our hope is that by making these improvements, not only will we have more same language captions, that we will have more translated captions, because we're going to provide kind of the seed that creators can then use.
Yeah, you'd be amazed how many creators tell me, hey, this is my workflow. I first, go through this laborious process to caption my video in, English, let's say. And then, because I have a lot of German speakers on my channel, I go to Google Translate, and then I copy and paste one segment at a time until it's full. And they're sitting there like, you guys work at the same company. Why don't you just let me auto translate it? And then I'll go and I'll, fix a couple words here, fix a couple of words there. And so we've just built that in and made it super smooth.
Great. And so then the next question becomes, well, what if I don't want to do this work? Or for example, there's somebody I know and trust who I would love to have them go in and take our auto-translated to Spanish version of my video and let them tweak it directly. I think you have some ideas around that as well.
Yeah, so we would like to add a like a permissions role, an access level that only allows someone to edit your captions or translated tracks. I think in a lot of ways this gives the best of the community captions experience. Now, I know that there are some channels out there that'll say, listen, people just found me and that was really great, but a lot of the risk comes there as well. When you as a creator can control who has the ability to do that, it allows you to make sure that the quality matches what you want for your channel. And if they're not, meeting your bar of quality, you can, kick them out. Hopefully that doesn't happen all that often, but you have the control there.
You have a lot more control, and you can leverage the community directly. And just so I understand how this is going to work, that I can add you to my studio account and only give you access to captions. So you can edit the captions, delete the captions, upload captions, but for all videos, I'm assuming, right? It's not a per video kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that definitely the first version would be for the whole channel.
Okay, great. And then there was a third thing that you were thinking about as well. So this would make creating captions easier, hopefully, and you could still leverage the community. But now there's a question of discoverability in general of captions, and can we grow the amount of captions by making changes to the upload flow, right?
Yeah, well, so one of the things that I'm really excited about with the new captions editor is the way that it can integrate with the upload flow and really emphasize that a part of getting your video ready for YouTube, if you're a really serious creator, is making sure that it's accessible. And so in the same way that we've integrated info cards and end screens, like the placement or ad breaks right into the upload flow as a part of getting the video ready for publish. We'd like to do that with captions as well, and allow you to do all of the things that we just talked about on your video after it's been processed, but while you're still doing things like setting the title and description, adding the tags, and kind of emphasize that this is a part of the publish experience. If I have to pick one thing that'll really drive like caption adoption, I think that's it. But it requires having an awesome captions editor that's on the new. You can't jump right to that spot. You have to have something that's easy to use. Otherwise, it'll just slow down uploads, which doesn't do anyone any good.
Yep. And so we've read a lot of the feedback, and one of the areas that resonated with me was what happens at the end of the 6 months. Especially if we don't have these features. We haven't talked about these features previously, but now that we have, like, the obvious question will be from creators, okay, so let's say it takes you guys a year to build these features. What about the 6-month thing? And we are thinking about potentially making that period of time longer. And we'll obviously, as we get towards the end of the 6 months, we'll know where we are with these different features that you just described, and we can make a decision there. Again, our goal is to make sure there's more captions on YouTube, not less captions. And by freeing up engineers from working on something that's not really working that well, and potentially has like structural problems, to really building cool new features on the editor or the one that's already on our new infrastructure. We're hoping that we'll get more captions, not less captions overall. And so we'll reevaluate the 6 months once we get closer to that point. So James, one other point of feedback that we heard was that we're concerned that somehow YouTube is making money on this deal that we're doing with a third party to allow creators to use that platform for crowd captioning. Just wanted to clarify what the situation is there exactly.
Yeah, we're not making any money on it. We're paying for their software to be available to creators who are using the community captions feature. Like it's there's no benefit back to YouTube other than the creators.
Other than getting a lot of captions, we hope this will generate. So that's really
right.
all we're getting out of it. And the goal is to kind of bridge the gap to these other features that will be coming, and hopefully they will be even more impactful. Perfect time because
Sounds
somebody's
good.
at my door. So thanks, James. I know it's late at night. You're in Europe, so thank you for staying up late to explain things to creators. And hopefully this makes sense, and we can continue the conversation and continue to figure out how to make sure we have a lot of captions on YouTube.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Ariel.
Thank you.